On this episode of the John1911 Podcast, gun channels never learn, more range construction, a 9mm Tokarev, and Grumpy Cat passes away. Okay, good morning, everybody. This is Marky and Freeze, and this is episode 134 of the John1911 Podcast. How's it going, Freeze?
Pretty good. Can't complain.
That's good. So, just before we went live, because it's I don't know, is it even 9 o'clock yet? It's not even 9 o'clock yet. So
it's around there.
So, I slept a little late today. There's been a lot going on this week, and so I just woke up this morning to, I guess, Teresa May has finally resigned. And then you were telling me something about, which I didn't realize, and then you're telling me something about Bernie Sanders this morning?
No, I was asking you if you'd heard anything about it. I saw a blurb, I think yesterday, about him and his wife being brought up on some kind of bank fraud charges, but I thought like his wife was cleared of some, I don't know. I didn't read the article. I just saw the headline scroll by me. So
is this a new charge, or is this revisiting an old thing that had happened?
Again, I don't know, because I didn't read the article. I just kind of glanced at it in passing, and now I wish I would have stopped and read the article, because I mean, I know I don't know, a year or so ago, old Bernie's wife was up on some kind of fraud charges, but I thought she was cleared of those.
Well, again, we're not prepared for this, but off the top of my head, as I recall, she was either a president or a very high-level person at some college in Vermont. And she somehow was behind an orchestration of buying or selling or moving that college that ultimately ended up bankrupting the college, but she left with a big old pile of cash.
Yeah. And
I think that's probably related to whatever you're discussing.
Okay. Okay. So I just kind of pulled something up, and apparently, never mind. This is an old article from like 2017. Never mind. None of this matters. It was probably just an old headline that scrolled through my feed.
See, headline readers, you. See, I learned that lesson a long time ago when we used to publish, when we were Tactical T-shirts, and I would publish all these news articles to the Facebook page. And for a lot of people, we were a primary source. And what happened, it was maybe 2 or 3 times I would see something, be like, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. And I would publish it and not realize the date on it.
Yeah.
And so I'd always made it a habit, because I looked like an asshole when I did that. I was like, I had to delete shit, walk it back. I was like, oh man. So
yeah, it's like, oh my God, President Kennedy was assassinated. Oh.
Basically, I mean, it was some stuff. It was like, yeah. Oh my God,
yeah.
I got Kennedy. God,
it's like,
damn Kennedy. Well, yeah. I guess Teresa May resigned overnight, and I haven't actually even had a chance to even read anything. All I know was, I guess, the cat got in the way, and they had to haul the cat off the front porch, the big old fat cat she's got. And then she came out and resigned, and I guess she started crying. And it's just like, oh, shit. Yeah. Don't cry.
Oh, whatever.
Yeah, it's all over the Brexit thing.
Yeah,
they're in trouble in England, because
you think?
Most people in the U.S. don't even understand what they understand. They've heard of Brexit, but what they really don't understand is there's a nightmare scenario that's happening, where like the nightmare scenario in the U.S. is that Bernie Sanders could be president. And that scenario is statistically possible. Bernie Sanders is a communist, and he's very popular in the Democratic Party, and a lot of people say that Trump was vulnerable. Neither here nor there, but mathematically, I mean, he probably should have gotten the nomination against Hillary Clinton, versus Hillary Clinton in the primary. So he could have come up to win. Well, the problem is they've got all the parties, the Labor, the Tories, and all these other crazy parties. It's a parliamentary system, so it's kind of weak. So they have to have coalitions. But what happened is there's a Brexit party that is formed, and I assume the Brexit party is probably part of the Conservative Party. So they've split because there's a lot of it's the Jeb Bush conservatives versus the Brexit conservatives. That would be a real simple way to put it. And so it's splitting the votes, and there's a lot of angst over this Brexit thing. And the fear is that Jeremy Corbyn, who is a communist, he is a straight up, he's an anti-Semitic, crazy fucking communist, could end up being the prime minister of Britain.
Oh, yeah. Well,
guess what happens when the communists take over? Guess what's happened in Britain over the past, say, 4 or 5 or 6 weeks? Because they're looking at the numbers and it's like he could win. All these rich people are leaving England.
Well, I mean, yeah, it's not looking good. I mean, now a lot of the people, obviously someone in May's cabinet, could potentially, replace her. And that's what a lot of the conservatives are hoping for. But that doesn't look, England's so messed up right now. I mean, who the hell knows?
Yeah, it's a wreck, and it's hard to keep it straight. The only thing harder than British politics for me is Israeli politics, because that is a fucking disaster. These parliamentary systems just kill me because I can't hardly keep up with them.
Yeah, well, let's see. Corbyn, he's a member of what is Labor. It? The Democratic? Is it the Labor? Who's the leading candidate for the Democratic Unionist Party?
I think, again, this is where I'm about to really show my ass. So kind of like, okay, Bernie Sanders is a Democratic socialist, but now he's a Democrat.
Yeah.
Jeremy Corbyn was a whatever you just said, but now he's part of Labour.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Yeah. It's something like
the militant communist version of the DUP. Gotcha.
Yeah. And so there was,
and I don't follow British politics that closely, so I have a real hard time keeping all this crap straight because there's so much crap going on here. I don't really have a whole lot of time to spend on other countries.
Well, you know what? We're going to do a little bit of politics on this one because here's another interesting thing that happened. So, yesterday or the day before, Trump had Trump was insulted by the members of Congress. And so they came over to have Infrastructure Week, which is a big joke. Like every year they have Infrastructure Week because it's this bullshit thing that everybody can agree. Everybody gets money. And, it's become this turnkey bullshit thing. So Nancy and Schumer thought they could just run their sucks to the media, then go, insult Trump and, say he's a traitor and cover up and all this and go over to the White House and he's just going to be totally fine with that shit. And, Donald Trump is going to be like, bitch, no, he's real big on this. Walked into the room, said some shit to her. Literally, as she tried to spun on his heels and walked the fuck out, went back to the Rose Garden, had a press conference. And it's just like, fuck you, bitch. Well, that got all the news for 2 days. But here's what didn't get covered. And I've actually asked this publicly. This is about the Chinese trade war. So, they're going to, we're going to work it out. We're going to do something because they need us or we need them and all, whatever. Then like the markets are fine, then they're down, then, we're back up and Chinese markets are down, then they're down and all this nonsense. But here's the thing. I've wondered for a while, take a company like Apple, okay? They're not stupid. And why hasn't Apple forced their suppliers, look, to get out of China? Okay, because here's the point, or diversify. Here's the point. When you look at China, the arc of history, okay, South China Sea, Uyghur concentration camps, Falun Gong torture, they could invade Taiwan and kill millions of people, nuclear weapons in North Korea that they're supporting, and one or two other things, it could be, that like all of a sudden we could the Chinese government politically in the U.S. and or in the West could turn into the new Nazis. They start killing millions of people, or a real life shooting war, or things get really bad, and companies like Apple and all these people that make all this shit in China are on the wrong side of some line on some map. And part of me has just been like, why in the fuck aren't they in Vietnam, Indonesia, Malaysia, or somewhere making this shit? 2 days ago, a company, it's called, I can't remember what it's called, but they actually, there's all these companies like Foxconn and all these companies that make products for these things. Apple doesn't, like, there's not Apple employees that make iPhones. It's subcontractors. So
sure,
this Chinese company, or I assume it's Chinese company, whatever it is, this company, they make iPads and Mac computers, and they have started setting up manufacturing in either Indonesia or Malaysia 2 days ago.
Yeah, well, there you go.
What does that tell you? I'll tell you what it tells me. It tells me what my gut is telling me. I don't think this trade war is going to end. I think there's a good chance this trade war is the new normal.
Well, I mean, when you look at stuff like this, I mean, everything goes in cycles. And I mean, is it the new normal? I don't necessarily know if it's the and I'm air quoting here. I don't know if it's the new. I mean, it's been this way for a while, and I agree. I don't see it changing, but I don't know if there's a new trade war going on. I just think it's kind of
there's a trade war going on right now, and we're putting tariffs on Chinese imports.
I mean, I understand that, but I don't necessarily know how new it is.
It's brand new. It happened it happened this year. I mean, Trump did this.
Yeah, I understand Trump put the tariffs on there, and that's great. But I mean, we've been messing with trade with China for several years now.
Well,
I mean, it may have escalated.
No, well, what we've done is all these Republicans and, all these Democrats, they all want to make the argument that we're not going to do anything because we believe in free trade. And nobody's done anything since Nixon opened up China. And it's been getting to the point that they're stealing everything. And they're not letting us sell hardly anything in China. Like a couple years ago, or no, earlier this year or last year, what was it? Is it Google? Google decided they can't. They're like, we're not going to do. But it has nothing to do with the trade war. They're like, we're not going to be able to. They closed up shop as far as setting up shit in China. Amazon has decided they've closed up shop. They're not going to be able to set up in China because they can't compete with Alibaba and not WeChat, but they're whatever the other one is. But because the entire system over there is set up that they don't really allow Western companies to compete.
Yeah, wasn't there like didn't when Google shut down? Wasn't it something along? Didn't China want them to like release a bunch of personal information or I remember.
So there's been multiple issues of that because there's all this kind of, if you're a company above a certain size, you got to have what I would call a political officer. Like in the Soviet army, they always had like a political officer in the units. Mm-hmm. Well, in China, they do that in their companies. And basically it's a party member that's in the company and the party comes first and you have to open up your shit. So what they did with Apple is they forced Apple, if you're going to have iPhones in China for the people, and, part of the problem with the iPhone is, in India and China, all these places, they didn't sell that many of them because they're just fucking expensive. If you think an iPhone is expensive here, go to fucking China. I mean, you know what I mean? Like, they can't afford it. But the people that can, they made them set up basically an iCloud data center in China for iPhones in China. And then the communists, wink, wink, they've got their political officers in there and they get access to kind of what's going on. And Apple has been telling people, yeah, but they don't have access to the one in America, the real servers and the real whatever in America. And it's like,
isn't it interesting how the same people that think China hacked our election would be so willing to believe Apple when they say, oh yeah, but here in America they don't have your shit.
Yeah.
It's like, really? So basically you want your cake and you want to eat it too. I mean, it's like, okay.
This is not a new problem. And so I guarantee all the listeners today don't even think about this, but this happened. When did this happen? In the 90s or the 2000s? Probably was the 2000s. So in the business community for a long time, if you were a business person, you had a BlackBerry, and the BlackBerries with those little keyboards. They literally had little itty bitty keyboards on them. Yeah. And so what happened was, how the BlackBerry worked. This is before all the cloud stuff, obviously. The BlackBerries, they pushed data, and they used the BlackBerry phones as their own network. I'm oversimplifying it. So if you're like if you're an out of work BlackBerry engineer, please don't fucking email me. Go try to get a job with some company that's still in business. So what was happening was, the data on, like, with these cell phones in the old days, countries could set up portals or internet points where they could kind of, like, choke points, or they could kind of, maybe if there was somebody that wanted to watch or data or stuff, they wanted to look at it and, get a warrant, however all that works. What was happening was the BlackBerry phones could literally, if there were a bunch of BlackBerries in a country, a data packet could move from phone to phone to phone to phone, then across the border and out, and not even touch the networks. And Saudi Arabia had a fit over this. They got tired of it, and they actually banned the BlackBerry. They were going to, and all these wealthy business people going to Saudi Arabia to do business. And there was some kind of weird compromise they did where they let them, we'll force it to go to like one place, and if you get your version of a warrant, and you can track Habib or do whatever. So, I mean, like, the issues that's going on with China, and the issues that's going on with the U.S., and the issues that's going on with Huawei and spying and these phones and all this shit, and, networks and routers, and this is not new. None of this is fucking new. It's just, it's just, it's interesting to see that. I don't think, what's China going to get out of this? Okay, China's going to, compromise, let us come into their country, possibly do well. They don't want to do that. And so, they don't need trade at this point to continue stealing technology. And, this argument that China needs to, China doesn't want, there's a whole intellectual property theft of stuff in this trade war that's also wrapped into it. And China's like, the U.S. market is big. That's fine. But China has a middle class that's like 360 million people. China has as many people that are in their middle class as we have an entire population. And their economy is maturing. They have a middle class that's maturing. And that middle class is what keeps that country running, because they support the government. They do well. They've got jobs. So, I think China's probably just going to be like, fuck it. We'll sell to our middle class. We'll keep stealing technology from the West and the Americans, and then we can sell to every other fucking first world country cheaper versions of shit we stole from America.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like they have their own middle class. They can still sell to Europe. They can sell to all these people, and I just don't think this is going to end. I just don't think it's going to end.
Well, and I mean, why should it? I mean, I know a lot of people here in the United States think we're China's only customer, but we're not.
We're not. And,
so, I mean, now granted, I mean, we do have a kind of a symbiotic relationship, of course.
We have a parasitic relationship with China.
Yeah. Well, yeah, that's just the evil side of a symbiotic relationship.
Yeah.
You're right. But we are not their only customer. The world's a big place. China pimps merchandise and products to a lot of countries, not just the United States. I mean, they send a lot of stuff to us. I mean, don't get me wrong, but they have other customers.
Well, it's interesting because all these people, because you don't hear about the quote free traders anymore. Oh, God damn it, I'm for free trade, and it's like, look, I'm for fair trade, but nobody talks about this. You remember? Oh, well, fuck, we knew this, dude. We were making T-shirts, and we could hardly find an American-made T-shirt. You remember that?
Oh yeah, and the ones we could find were not affordable.
Yeah, they all came out of California.
Yeah.
And it's funny. We could get union and non-union shirts at one point out of California, but like the American garment industry was destroyed. Like we used to have all these people that could make clothing in America. Well, what happened was because the foreign, the shit got so cheap it just decimated our garment industry. That's fine. I mean, it is what it is. It's not fine, but it is what it is. Well, in Europe, they saw that happen in the United States, and they told China and a lot of these low cost competitors, they're like, no, fuck you. You can't dump all that super cheap shit into our zone. That's why, and their argument was we have to save the high fashion in France and the high fashion in Italy and the purse manufacturers and whatever. And so, I mean, all of Europe knocked out all that cheap Chinese clothing. You can't sell. They haven't put all these people out of business in Europe. But like the same people that I mean, I hate to say it like this, would want to suck Europe's cock. Complain Donald Trump's doing the same thing that they're doing here. But Donald Trump sucks.
Yeah. Well, and here's the thing. Also, those same people want to buy a $10 T-shirt from Walmart, not a $30 or a $40 T-shirt. Again, it's one both ways.
Yeah. Well, I saw this too, and I thought this was interesting. And then we'll get off the whole trade war thing. I just been watching it. So I guess, and I didn't realize this was going to happen because we were talking about Google and all that. Well, all these Huawei phones, which is the Chinese, the one they're really worried about. I guess they use Android, like your phone's Android, right? Your cell phone? What's the actual maker of your cell phone today?
Samsung,
and I think they're the largest cell phone maker in the world. I think.
South Korean.
Yeah, South Korean. So, but you use it. You use Android, Google, operating system. Well, all these Huawei phones, or at least a lot of them, use the Google operating system. Well, per the terms of the trade war, Google has I don't know what, unsigned, or they're no longer allowing any of these Huawei phones to get updates or access to their services because they're on the wrong side of the trade war. And now Microsoft, it came out this morning, Microsoft is no longer placing orders, I guess, for Huawei phones. Maybe Microsoft, because I know Microsoft had a phone or something, like, one guy.
Yeah, I don't know if they still do, but I know at one point in time they had a phone.
Well, apparently Microsoft, whatever phone they're making, they are stopped ordering Huawei. They're not ordering any Huawei phones as of like this week. Okay. And but it goes both ways. That minority of people that have iPhones in China that have money and have real iPhones. A lot of them are they're walking around with an iPhone and they feel like it's unpatriotic, and so they want to get rid of their iPhones. And quote, as soon as they can afford it, they're going to go buy like a Huawei or whatever phone because they don't want to have an American phone.
Yeah.
And, you know, it's like, it's over. I mean, I think the party could be over. I think there's going to be no iPhones in China, and there's going to be no Huawei phones in the US, and maybe no Android in China, because Huawei's already come out and said, yeah, we're going to have a new operating system for our phones, like within, let's say, like 6 months or something. So they're not going to have to use the Google Android operating system. How much you want to bet it's a fucking copy of goddamn Android?
Oh, sure it is.
It'll be a straight up copy with just a new server farm in like Shenzhen or something.
Yeah.
And that in itself will be the problem.
Look, here's the thing. China does not have a long history of inventing new stuff. They just have reverse engineering everyone else's shit. Mm-hmm. So they're not going to reinvent the wheel here. They're just going to recreate their own version of whatever.
Oh, fuck. Years ago, what was it? You know, the Russians have this really hot shit airplane. It's the Su-30, this fighter jet bomber. It's a Gen 4 fighter. It was probably the best plane they got. It's a very formidable aircraft. And if you up against a pilot that knows how to fly the fucking thing, I mean, you're in trouble. Well, China wanted to buy some of those. And they're like, yeah, okay. The Russians sold them some, but they wouldn't sell them the engines.
Yeah.
Because they had bought Su-27s. The Chinese had bought Su-27s from Russia. And I think maybe they'd even worked out like a licensing deal for the engines or something. But basically, China got all the technology and they just copied it, and they stopped buying engines from Russia and Su-27s. And started ripping them off. And like now, Russia doesn't want to sell China anything that's like high tech.
Yeah.
That's been going on for a number of years.
Oh, yeah. You know,
so
yeah, I mean, yeah, China has a long history of doing that.
They just,
Yeah. So, you know, you're right. I mean, the new operating system for their new phones just going to be a ripoff.
You know what? We'll get off this because you're doing real well even listening to me talk about this because I find all the shit interesting. But I wanted to tell you how sorry I am of the news that Grumpy Cat died. And
what?
You didn't know Grumpy Cat died?
No, I didn't. I'm kind of grumpy now.
You're fucking with me, right? No, seriously.
No, I did not know Grumpy Cat died. When did Grumpy die?
Grumpy died, I think it was earlier this week or last week. And apparently Grumpy Cat got a urinary tract infection and subsequently died from it. I think Grumpy Cat was only 7. Pretty young for a cat.
Yeah, it is.
And apparently, I think Grumpy Cat was actually a girl. Because I think the obit said she.
Oh, that makes total sense because, you know, I mean, most girls are as bitter as Grumpy Cat.
Oh, God. I almost spit coffee all over my desk.
Wow.
Well, it was interesting because, again, all the trades and the news and all that, they're all talking. So it's like the owner of Grumpy Cat is probably a woman who's under 30. And I think they said either Grumpy Cat's estate or Grumpy Cat as a IP play, intellectual property play, is either generated or worth right now $5 million.
Really?
That girl's making money with Grumpy Cat.
Well, not anymore. Dead Grumpy Cat.
No. Actually, no. She probably secured that image. It's like Elvis. When Elvis, dude, how come we never printed an Elvis T-shirt?
Yeah, well, because we didn't want to go to prison.
We didn't want to get the Elvis lawyers up here in our shit, and we'd have to write them a big old check. And she has successfully sued people who have done stuff with Grumpy Cat monetizing it, and they've had to pay her.
Good for her.
Good for her. And it's like I thought Grumpy Cat was just a meme, but apparently it's a business.
Huh. Well, you know, Grumpy Cat's been around for a while. Well, not more than 7 years, apparently. But what the hell's the matter with this woman? I mean, she's got a $5 million cat. Why didn't she take him to the fucking vet?
She did. I mean, the cat, I mean, it's her meal ticket. The cat just got sick and died.
Maybe she should have picked a better cat.
Maybe it was something. I mean, maybe, I don't know.
Dude, well, I don't know.
You know what? The truth is going to come out that Grumpy Cat died during an 8-ball because Grumpy Cat was in the Hollywood, So
Grumpy Cat's up there with John Belushi and Chris Farley.
Yeah, it's tragic that these talented people, quote, die so young. It's like, we don't know what happened. Don't assume anything. Maybe Grumpy Cat didn't like. Maybe Grumpy Cat was unhappy and unfulfilled, and maybe Grumpy Cat, did a David Carradine and hung herself in the closet while doing some autoerotic.
Well, look, I wonder.
Grumpy Cat died of heroin.
Wow! Stop. Fucking cat heroin. I do know that the Grumpy Cat has some kind of. I read this. I don't know, a couple of years ago. The grumpy appearance on the face was due to some kind of like genetic underbite or something. I don't know. Basically, the cat had some kind of a birth defect that gave it this like permanent grumpy look on its face. So I'm wondering if maybe the urinary tract infection and the early, because cats, hell, I got a cat that's 14 years old, Yeah. I wonder if that had something to do with like the genetic birth defect, or I shouldn't say birth defect, but there was some kind of genetic, I read a couple of years ago, there's some kind of genetic weirdness going on with this cat that gave it the, like the permanent scowl and stuff. So I wonder if that had anything to do with it.
See, now here's the thing. We're talking about Teresa May, Jeremy Corbyn, British politics, and you're like, oh, Jeremy Corbyn, you're like, Google. Grumpy Cat, you're like, genetic defect, blah, 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 off the top of your head.
Well, you know what? The truth is, I'm more interested in Grumpy Cat than I am Teresa May and Jeremy Corbyn.
It's obvious.
Because I find Grumpy Cat much more interesting than some limey bastard.
And I knew that you actually were a big fan of Grumpy Cat, so... And I
love Grumpy Cat.
Yeah.
Grumpy Cat and me were kind of like soulmates.
Oh, dude. I don't know if you heard about this one. I saw it yesterday. And I think it was a fake. Like, I think somebody did this on purpose, but maybe not. So this came out of probably Northern Virginia, Washington, D.C., Northern Virginia. So this person posted a Craigslist ad. And it says, hey, and you tell the person is like somewhat broken English, so they're not originally from the United States. It goes, hey, lost cat, need to find owner, whatever. And, the cat was in my backyard crying, and and the owner's going it's like the cat's well fed. It's not real skinny. It looks like it's well taken care of. It's somebody's cat. It's gorgeous, probably, but then the cat, it's real temperamental, and it tears up all the shit in the house. It's peeing everywhere. It's moody, and, it's, all this stuff. And the photographs, it's a bobcat.
Nice.
Yeah. And people
going
oh no, but here's the thing. There's a picture of this bobcat in this this woman's walk-in closet. There's a picture of a bobcat on her counter. A bobcat this. Actually, I don't know how the hell. I hope this was a domesticated bobcat and some kind of joke, because I don't know how the hell this woman picked up this bobcat and got it in the house. And her argument was, well, I know it's not a stray because it's not real skinny and disheveled looking. So it's gotta be somebody's pet. And like, so, apparently how she found it, she said she heard a cat crying in her backyard and it was stuck. Her argument was it was stuck between two fences, or maybe it was stuck between two fence posts, like a slat fence or something. It wasn't really clear, but it was hilarious. And it's like, oh, and like a lot of photographs, and like this cat, you can tell, like even some of the pictures of the cat, you can tell the cat wanted to kick your ass. And she's taking pictures of, you're like, man, get the fuck away from that cat.
Well, I tell people all the time, because look, people love their cats, but I tell people all the time, house cats, I mean, they may love you because you're big and you're dominant and you feed them. But if Honey, I Shrunk the Kids came to your house and you got shrunk down to the size of a Barbie doll, dude, you would be dinner. That cat may love you today, but it will eat you tomorrow.
That's the thing that people don't like to talk about this, but like there's been incidents, and it's not that uncommon if like a person expires and they're not discovered for maybe a little while, that if the cat needs food, the cat would start eating on your body.
Yes.
Like I don't think the dog will eat you, but the cat would start eating you.
Because you're roadkill.
Yeah.
And they're hungry.
So I just thought that was awesome. So
that's awesome.
So what's been going? Go ahead.
Speaking of bobcats, have we seen any sign of bobcats down at the farm?
No. We are. I have been told by everybody that we have bobcats, but I have yet to see one.
I mean, I don't see why not, because over at the farm, that Mitchell Range is on, they have bobcats there. Or they have
I knew he had a bobcat. He's probably got more than one.
I shouldn't say bobcats. I know that a bobcat was sighted. But, my kind of thinking is if there's one, there's probably at least two.
Well, you know what? The truth is, if you see one Bigfoot, there's a whole bunch of them hiding out on your property like freaking squatters.
Well, I'll tell you what.
Sasquatch is actually squatter.
I'll tell you what, if they're squatting on my land, they need to pay me some rent. Because Freeze needs to get paid.
Yeah. I know this. Like, here's what I know. There's a property not that far from us, and they had a bunch of goats, and the goat population was decimated by the bobcats. And it's close enough to the range. There's no way we don't have bobcats. Yeah. Now, I will tell you, I've only seen like one or two rabbits. Like, I'm not seeing as many. Like, I don't know. Yeah, we torn up that property so much.
That part of Indiana, the rabbit population's been devastated by the coyotes.
Yeah.
I mean, the coyotes kind of took care of the rabbit population. And you know what? There's hardly any quail down there now. I mean, I remember years, this is going back, years and before the coyotes were introduced, or I don't know if they were introduced or they migrated or however they were brought in, but before the coyote population was there, man, there was rabbits and quail all over the place. And it was good hunting too. Now, man, if you see a rabbit or a quail, man, that's a rare sighting.
Yeah, I know that. Well, we have because we're putting up a picnic shelter on the property. That's what we're calling it. Incidentally, we heard from, I don't want to say the county, because we had to call it different because the property is big enough. It's in multiple counties. Well, the other county, the contractor went out and basically explained the situation to them, and they were like, "Yeah, you don't need a building permit." And I'm sure I'm waiting for it, be like, "Hey, can I come out there and shoot?" But the contractor for the shelter and Officer Mike they're big hunters. Officer Mike's a big hunter too. And they were talking about coyote hunting, and because Officer Mike, he's over here, and then the contractor, he's way out there in Indiana, and they were sharing war stories and how big the coyotes they've seen and bagged. And of course, Officer Mike is always running around with machine guns and suppressors. So they were like, so you can shoot coyotes at night with suppressors? And he's like, yup. And they're all like, damn, how do I get me one of them suppressors? They were enthralled. Yeah. I couldn't get them off the property. Because I had Mike out there, because it's like Mike had to like get some shit zeroed and work on some stuff. And I was like, gentlemen, we got to get back to work. You're here. We got things, staked. You got to get off the range. So
that's awesome.
And I kind of warned Mike. I was like, hey, when I look at you and I say you're working, you need to be like, yeah, I'm working. So, because like once I was like, hey, we got to get back to work. And Mike was like, oh, no, we're good. I was like, dude.
See, now hold on a second, though. That's a learning experience for Officer Mike.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because he doesn't understand if you because everyone's so enthralled with shit we got going on out there. Like, well, here's a perfect example. This actually happened. Like, it was Mike and I, and messing with some stuff, and we're at a part of the property that's we're pretty hidden. You can't see us. You can hear us, but you can't see us. And then it's like, okay, the one contractor's got to come over for the whatever. We got to figure out where we're going to put this thing. We picked it out and all that. And he's like, well, I got to get the bulldozer guy. And so he's going to be busy, but let me see if I can get him on the phone. And the bulldozer guy is the same bulldozer guys that we've had. So they know us. They get a call like, hey, you want to come on out to those guys, that range? And they drop everything. And so it's not just the bulldozer guy shows up. He brings people with him. Hey, you want to see a neat plea? And then the farmer, like the tenant farmer who we have, he sees all these people. He comes over. Literally, I was like, shit, I should be serving fucking beer or something. I mean, it was like 4th of July. And, it's like, yeah. And
that's why we need to get a gate up.
Yeah, we're working on that. Well, we're having issues. I won't go into that in the pod, but we're having the gate. We're having an issue.
Yeah, we talked about that the other day.
So did you? And I'm just glad actually that they didn't even hear. Like, we had gotten Mike's machine gun kind of tested before because they wouldn't have never left if they'd seen that machine gun.
Oh no, because that's like, I mean, that's like Christmas Day to them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
they're like, oh my God, Yeah.
Well, that's kind of the downside to because we've had all these contractors coming on the property, and the whole county knows that we're there. I mean, like half the county was thinking we're going to open up what's Thunder Ranch? It's like no,
Ranch, Blackwater.
Yeah, Blackwater. It's like, no. This is not going to be a training facility. This is not open to the public. This is not. Yeah. No. And but any excuse people can have to come out and stop by. They can stop by. And people, when it's funny now to the point, like if I have to make a call to have somebody come out to the property, they never come by themselves. They bring people with them because they want to look around. And so it's now time to drop the hammer and start sealing the property up. And as a matter of fact, we had a police chief up with his training officer, and he gave us some ideas. He was like, well, okay, you're gonna have to secure your property, and some things that we can do, that they're gonna start watching it for us. So, which I knew was going to happen.
Sure. Yeah, but and I mean, look, we knew this was coming, so this is no surprise,
Let's see, what else is there? Hey, your friend and mine, Michael Avenatti, the creepy porn lawyer, as they call him on Fox News, he's been charged with stealing from Stormy Daniels now.
Really?
Yep. They say he's looking at is it 140 or 440 years in prison?
Holy shit. Well, look, that guy's a scumbag.
So apparently, like, you know, because like I remember he was taking money from like there was some like vet that was like disabled and like almost destitute. He, you know, and gotten some settlement, and he took that money, and then he was trying to shake down Nike and you know, buying like airplane. I know he was porking. Who's Billy Joel's ex-wife?
Christy Brinkley.
He was porking her there for a hot minute up there in the Hamptons.
Really?
And yeah, don't ask me how I know that. You know, it's just like this guy was like super white hot, and they're like, he's going to be the greatest thing. He's going to take down Trump, and like he really was in like the deepest bowels of no disrespect to Christy Brinkley, that's not what I mean, but in the deepest bowels of the Democratic like liberal groups, and you know, now it's like I guess some publisher was like, yeah, we're going to give Stormy Daniels a book deal. And so, you know, we're going to give, you know, yeah, we'll give her an advance. And it was a lot of money. And they wrote the advance, and he's the lawyer on record. So he takes the advance and he pockets the money. And she's out there working at these strip clubs, broke as fuck, on Twitter, and they're all over the media. And she's like, well, when's my advance coming? He's like, they haven't paid it. They never sent it.
Wow.
It's crazy. I mean, it's crazy.
So basically, Stormy Daniels can't catch a freaking break, you know? I mean, you know, she had to pay Trump.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, that's right, because they got a settlement with prejudice.
Yeah. Trump's the only guy who got a refund from a prostitute.
Oh. I'm choking on my coffee. Look, I mean, you and I are very experienced in the ways of the street and the world. And let me go ahead, but there's going to be somebody out there that live a good little quiet life, and they live in, you know, vicariously, possibly through us, listening to whatever. And I'm actually going to give them a PSA. And I know what I'm talking about here. So here's some advice. Whenever you are around a porn star, stripper, prostitute, sex worker, escort, I'm trying to think of anything, stripper. Did I say stripper?
Yes.
But like that genre of person, you need to always remember that type of person, whether that person is a dirtbag or whether that person literally is like the hooker with a heart of gold, doesn't matter. That person is a magnet for the worst kind of people, like a moth to a flame. So like when you are around a person that's in that kind of lifestyle, either directly or tangentially, you could find yourself in a situation where you are crossing paths with a complete psychopath, lunatic, axe murderer, or whatever, because they attract those types of personalities. And Michael Avenatti saw Stormy Daniels. He is a sociopath. It's just obvious he's a sociopath. I mean, that's probably going to be his defense. I'm a sociopath. I need help, whatever. And he was like, I can do shit with this bitch, and inserted himself because she popped up. He found her. She did not find him. He found her. Shit, he may have found her on goddamn Twitter.
Yeah, I have no clue where he found her from. But
I don't either. But it's just it's one of those lessons. It's like you just, you know, that, you know, and it's, you know, like, okay, here's an example. Like, just because it's illustrative of the problem. Like, people in Hollywood, especially like attractive people in Hollywood, sex symbols, movie stars, Madonna, like they keep all this quiet because they don't want to encourage more of it or give borderline personality people an idea. But the amount of mentally ill, criminally insane, sociologically broken individuals, from homeless people to CEOs, who will try to insert themselves into the lives of these pseudo famous, attractive people. It's a huge problem for them. That's why all these people. Mm-hmm.
As soon as you say this, the first phrase that comes to my mind is tiger blood.
Yeah. It's like, well, but that's where it ends up, because what happens, that's why these people live behind walls, and that's why they have so many agents and managers and handlers, because they literally, like, they're so crippled by all the problems that they're constantly facing that they can't, it's difficult for them to even casually just interface with new people, because they always have to seriously question whether this is really a new person or whether this person is a broken ass person who just happens to be wealthy, rich, smart, or have a job that will fucking destroy my life. And this happens all the time. Like, there's an actual division of the Los Angeles Police Department. Their full-time job is to deal with all this kind of shit. It's a full-blown division at LAPD. Yeah, and you hear about the crazy guy with the knife in the bushes once in a while, because you can't keep that off the police blotter. What you don't hear about is the crazy accountant who's working for the actress, and he's got access to all her money, and he's decided he's leaving his wife, and he loves you, and he does all this crazy shit. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's and that's exactly what this is. That's exactly what this is. This Michael Avenatti is one of these broken ass people attracted to the flame of this, like, pseudo sexual celebrity, and it's really for their benefit why they've inserted themselves into your life. And crazy people are, the worst kind of people in the world are not the person that will lie to you is dangerous, but a person that will lie to themselves is even more dangerous, because they'll run over the edge of the cliff and take everybody with them. That's the most dangerous person, is one that will lie to themselves. And that's the only debate. That's the only debate with Michael Avenatti. Is he just lying to Stormy Daniels and the world, or is he lying to himself?
Well, kind of both.
You never know. Hey, the plate rack is going well at the farm.
That's good.
Officer Mike was out there running it, and unfortunately, he had just put these sights on this gun, and they weren't zeroed, so he was having some issues.
That's understandable, though.
It's understandable, but he just basically compensated for it. It was like, I'll just hold to the right, and it was good. That plate rack it was interesting because I got some videotape of it, and I can see where because just by virtue, the plate rack is still where we left it, where you assembled it. But because of the sunlight, and then the woods were dark, and the focus points, because it's hundreds of yards away, I could see the jackets and large pieces of spall arching and going up, and it was about 35 or so degrees. Like, the numbers that I've found of supposedly the angles of plate racks, they seem to match. It's about 35 degrees. But, the thing is, when you miss or you skip a bullet off the top of a plate, pew, and it's just like, we're going to have to, we're working on a solution to backstop that plate rack.
I mean, we've talked about a couple different solutions.
We've actually, I don't know if I told you, but the guy who's building the shelter, he's going to actually build us we still have to get the price, but he's going to build us, I got to meet this afternoon. He's going to build us a solution for the plate rack where it currently sits, not where you and I thought we were going to put it. And, I may just leave it there.
Well, it's not a bad spot for it. I like it there. And
I like it there because it doesn't eat up 12 feet of the berms either.
Yeah, exactly. And the solution isn't going to eat up any pistol pit space either.
Yeah, that's basically kind of what I'm saying. So, we'll see. The solution, the problem is the solution it'll be a consumable. I guess that's the word I'm looking for. Like we'll use it and we'll have to pull shit out of it and like replace it. But, I'm not depending on, a plate rack maker to tell me where a bullet skip will go or where the worst case scenario fragment will go. Basically, we will design it that everything will eat everything, and we'll just make it consumable. We'll just keep paying to rebuild it.
Yeah, that's fine. I mean, if every couple of years we have to replace it, then, we'll go ahead and do that.
Yeah.
Because, it just, everything needs to be absorbed.
Yeah, nothing can leave the property. And, the thing is, we may shoot 223 at that plate rack. It's a rifle rated plate rack.
Yeah. Well,
I wouldn't want to shoot 308 at it, but, we could be in that pit burning it down and then bang, bang, bang.
Yeah, I don't really want to shoot 308 at it either, but I definitely would not have a problem running like the VZ or an AR at it. Yeah. That'd be fun.
Just to see how it goes.
Yeah. Not all the time, but,
I did test fire the Red 9, and it is a 9mm, not 7, whatever it is. So the markings on it are the only marking on that gun denoting it as a 9mm is the pistol grip. So it chambered a 9mm. It's like, okay, well, let's fire it. So it fired, it worked. We didn't have stripper clips. We have some stripper clips coming in from California. And actually, I may be mistaken because I had told you that I didn't think the Steyr-Hahn stripper clips would work with the Red 9, and I may be mistaken. So when they come in, we'll compare them, and we may already have a ton of stripper clips for the Red 9.
Well, that's fine. My theory is you can never have too many.
Yeah, I will need a bunch of them. So, and you know what? Like I could have bought like. The thing is, I did some research, and I guess the Red or the C96 Mauser people, there's the cheap reproduction stripper clips, then there's the original German ones. I actually bought Mauser marked German stripper clips from they're 100 years old, but they're Mauser marked and they're real, but people are like, oh my God, you're so expensive. And it's like, well, how expensive are they? It's like, they're $12. It's like, all right. Okay. $12 for a stripper clip. All right. That's not great. But if for a 100-year-old gun, all right. I can buy 10 of those.
Well, yeah. Look, it's not, it's like, are they expensive? Sure, but on the other hand, it's not like you're running this thing every freaking day, get 10 or 12 of them and, just be done.
If you're going to have a pistol that's worth many thousands of dollars, you're not going to balk at a $12 stripper clip.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? Like, I remember a long time ago, I bought this. In fact, I think I sold it to you. A 454 Casull revolver. You remember that gun?
Yeah, I do remember that gun.
The Raging Taurus. And that's an example of a gun that would be nice if we still had that for, now that we've we got internet. But I remember I was buying the gun. This old guy, Jim, he's behind the counter, and he's getting ready he's filling out the his section of the 4473,
Yeah.
And as he's doing it, he's getting ready to slide it over to me, and I like go, so hey Jim, so how much is this ammo? He stops writing, he looks up at me, and he goes, if you got to ask that, you can't afford this. You can't afford this gun. You still want it. And I was like, yeah, no, yeah, go ahead. Oh, no, don't, yeah, I want it. And, I never forgot that. So,
yeah,
it's just one, I mean, Jim was a big machine gun collector, but, it's just one of those things, if you're going to be in that end of the pool, there's a ticket price to see that show. And a $12 stripper clip is what it's going to take. So, did we talk about that gun having Chinese markings on it on pod?
No, we did not.
It has Chinese markings on it. I guess that's off the to-do list. There you go, everybody. The red 9 we have, a C96 with a stock, has Chinese markings on it. It's been, it was made by Mauser. It's not a Chinese-made gun, but it's got some kind of Chinese markings on it.
Well, and a lot of these Mausers that came out of China, were German-made guns. They were just, sent to China and then eventually exported. I had years ago, I had a Chinese. Well, no, it was when I say Chinese, it was imported from China, but it was a broom handle, and it was in the what is it, 7.62, 7.65 Mauser,
7.65, yeah, or whatever that caliber is.
Yeah, and it had a broken firing pin when I got it. And that's the bad thing about, I don't know about the 9mm, but the bad thing about the broom handles is don't dry fire them.
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
Do not dry fire them. You will break the firing pin. And I tell you, another gun you do not dry fire or you will break the firing pin is the Japanese Nambu pistol.
Never had one.
Yeah. But if you get a Nambu pistol with a broken firing pin, yep, someone dry fired it.
Okay, I dry fired it some, so I'll have to. I
know you're a big fan of dry firing, but do not dry fire the Red 9.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't dry fire like it was a work gun, so just to kind of see how it worked and whatever. So, but I won't dry fire it. So, that's good to know. So I had no idea. I'll have to, because it's on the cleaning benches because we got to clean that. We got to clean the Norinco 213, the 9mm Tokarev gun, because we had that out, and that one's had, I don't know, that probably had 30 rounds through it, 30 maybe 40 rounds, and then the Red 9, I mean, it maybe had 10 rounds through it because we had to put them by hand. We were trying to shoot it at 200 yards, but it was the windage was off, and it was so windy that day. We had a hard time trying to hit the target. I was trying to make Mike's 300 blackout look bad, and I couldn't do it. So.
I'm interested in shooting that Norinco, the Tokarev copy.
Do you know how to take the safety off that gun? Have you ever taken one off? It should be simple, but have you ever done it?
Yeah, I mean, not on a 9mm. Saying that's the thing. I've never shot a 9mm Tokarev. All the Tokarevs I've shot were 7.62 by 25, but it should be the same. Yeah, they're fairly easy to take apart.
Because they put them on to get them into the country to get them by the Gun Control Act, I think.
Yeah, they did that for a while. Well, of course, no Norincos are coming in anymore, but there was a lot of milsurps that got brought into the country. It was a phase where they had to put safeties on them.
I think they still do. I don't think it's a liability issue. I think it's actually an import issue, because Like we have a Maz 36 from Century. That's a 308 bolt gun, and it's got a little block safety on it. And that was put on by Century. I think there's an import rule on bringing guns in. They have to have safeties from 1968. And, you know, the block on the Maz 36 is no big deal. The safety on this Norinco sucks because it's kind of in the way. And the thing is, it's actually backwards from being intuitive. So the debate we were having, it was like, well, if I'm going to keep it as a reference gun, you know, like for, you know, to people to, you know, like, hey, you know, we do like a little like, you know, gun demo day for some small PD. If they run across a Norinco, you know, there's more and more, or these Tokarevs, and there's more and more of them coming. They're coming in like crazy. There's so many of these guns coming in the country because they're cheap, and it's like, well, do I leave the safety on it because they're more likely to run across on one with a safety than without, and just tell them how it works with the half-cock safety, how the Russians intended it to be used. Because the reality is, if they run across one onto the street, if they take one off somebody, like one of these small PDs, and they're probably going to run into one with a safety on it.
Well, I mean, if it's maybe, you know, there's a lot of Tokarevs in this country that were brought in without safeties on them, though.
Yes, but the thing is, every month, companies like Century and Classic Firearms and Aim Surplus and everybody else are selling out hundreds and hundreds and thousands of them with safeties because they're coming in now. Like they're all, I mean, like,
I wouldn't take the safety off. I'd leave
it. That's kind of what I'm thinking. I may just leave it because look, it's like, you know, fuck it. You know, it's not like it's a, you know.
Look, if you were going to use
the real answer is to buy two of them and then take the safety off of one. We need two of them.
Jesus Christ. And like a true milsurp collector.
And that's how you end up with an entire room of Mauser rifles that look the same to me. No, but this one's got like a rivet here. And this was like, they all look the same to me, brother.
Yeah. Yeah.
Hey, did you know that we got a complaint on YouTube about how I talk?
No. What do you mean how you talk? I mean, they can your voice?
Why, no, my voice is fine. This is Wolfman Jack. No, this guy rolled in and on a secondhand showcase video, which I got to do more of those. They're ready for more. And I was talking about a Walther handgun of some kind.
Yeah.
And he comes in and he's all snitty and he's like, you know, I can't say the whole thing, but basically he's like, it's Walther, Walt. How do you say, if you were a boy in blue who had escaped from Germany and you were living in Argentina and you picked up a Walther pistol, how do you say it with a German accent? Walther?
Yeah.
Walther or something?
But you know what, though? I hate guys that do that. I mean, and that's why I purposely, whenever I'm talking to like Russian milsurp collectors, call Mosins Mozzie Nuggets. I do that on purpose to piss them off because, it's not Mosin Nagant, it's Mozzie Nagant. And it's like, you know what? Shut the fuck up, you stupid motherfucker. You know? I hate people that do that. You know, of course, you know me, I always hate people that play the gotcha game anyway.
But it is because it's one of these elitist things to somehow try to to segregate you from the cool kid crowd that you're not in, you're out. And so here's like this. So this guy that's complaining about how I say Walther, you know, does he go around? Does he talk about, you know, hey, this gun came from Nicaragua. Or does he say, and I bought it in Managua? Or does he say Moscow? If he's talking about the Russian collusion, does he say Moskva or Moscow? Because Russians don't say Moscow. Russians say must be. You know, I mean, you can do this to the nth degree, and it's retarded.
It is. It is. I hate guys that do that. I really do, because basically they're pretentious dicks, and they're playing the gotcha game. You know, they're like, you know, you're wrong, I'm right, and I'm going to make myself, you know, seem like I'm so much more knowledgeable by correcting your mistake. And it's like, shut up.
Well, you know, I mean, you know, back
in the old days, I banned quite a few people that like to play the gotcha game.
Yeah, and you know, the thing is, his whole attitude on it was interesting, because you interface with collectors more than I do, but his whole attitude, he was like, I'm so sick of you people. They can't say this right. Like, it's like, I mean, like he wasn't nice about it. Like, hey, just so you know, is it like, I don't even like it. I can't even, I used to know some of this, like, hey, by the way, it's not Heckler and or Cock or Cox or Coach.
It's blah, blah. Yeah. You know, Heckler and Koch.
You know, and it's just like, you know, I mean, you know, I just, these guys, and, you know, we're going to, as we're featuring more of the guns in the reference collection, we're going to see more and more of these types of people on YouTube.
There's no way around it. I mean, look, there's no way around it, because there's bunches and bunches of people out there. And I find that although a lot of people can be that way, I find the milsurp collectors get really, really wrapped up in that. I mean, like, look, the guys that are big fans of Gun Jesus are more than likely the guys that are going to come out and correct your pronunciation of a particular old firearm.
But you know what? Gun Jesus doesn't strike me as a guy that would do that.
I'm not saying Gun Jesus would. I'm saying his apostates would.
I know, but there's a lesson in that observation somewhere, if you think about it.
Yeah.
Gun Jesus doesn't go through life looking to whack people, but his apostates might.
Yes.
Because they want to try to be closer to Gun Jesus, so they figure the best way to get closer to him is to tear other people down. And that's kind of how this whole system works. Hey, speaking of YouTube, did you see YouTube, because we got to go because we're going long and I'm going to lose power. YouTube demonetized a whole new slew of gun channels apparently last week.
Really?
Yeah, like gun channels I'd never heard of.
I didn't hear about that, but I know like they're demonetizing a lot. I mean, you know, look,
well, what they've done is they're not demonetizing videos. They're actually coming in now and they're saying, hey, our compliance, whatever group has now reviewed your channel, and we've decided that you no longer qualify for monetization. And we're removing you from the ability to monetize. Not like, hey, we just demonetized a bunch of these videos and tell you. It's like, yeah, you're a gun channel, so we don't want you monetizing. And I'm sitting over here like, yep, told y'all.
Yeah.
You know, and eventually they may take you off of YouTube. And it's like, you guys, you know, you guys putting all these videos on YouTube and they're not backed up anywhere or sitting on a server somewhere else. And YouTube just all of a sudden snaps their fingers and all that work you put in is gone. You are screwed. You know?
And you know what? I have zero sympathy for them, because look, we tore our shit down a couple of years ago and it hurt to do it. Don't get me wrong. I mean, you know, but we basically burned the house down and started from scratch rebuilding. And we did it because we saw this coming. And anyone who gets burned in this situation, if they didn't see it coming, I can't feel sorry for them.
Yeah. I mean, you know, I mean, like all these people talking about like conservatives on Twitter being shadow banned and all this. It's like, I'm not trying to be like, you know, like too snarky about it, but it's like, welcome to 2012, guys.
Yeah.
You know,
exactly.
we were dealing, and that's why we decided we're no longer going to be vulnerable to these people. That's why we burned it all to the ground and started rebuilding it. And it's been slow, but you know what? Nobody can touch us. Now, I want to do a criminal story, a police blotter story before we close out, because I thought this was awesome. So there was this school teacher in Massachusetts, and he's been ranting and raving that they're not safe at their school and they need metal detectors.
Oh, yeah.
And so one day he decides, he's like a hall monitor. He's got a radio. He's like some bullshit, whatever teacher. And he calls in on the radio and says, there's ammunition here in the hallway. And he calls it in, and like, you know, there's ammo. So the police come and the administrators, and it's, you know, and there's security cameras everywhere. Well, they happen to look at the security camera. He takes a piece of ammo out of his pocket, throws it in the corner, and then calls it in.
Yeah.
And he was arrested.
Oh, well, yeah, of course he was. It's first off, you know, it's Massachusetts. So, but look, liberals eat themselves from the inside out. Mm-hmm. They do. And this is a typical case of him trying to prove a point and just doing his own thing and probably thinking that nothing bad would come about it. And
he wants to commit a crime, commit a felony, create this drama, because in his mind, he's rationalized that he's not bad. He's doing it for the good of all of us.
Yes.
It's like the black guy that goes and sprays KKK shit on the fucking hallway. It's like, we don't fucking need to hear about, there's enough bad shit in the world. We don't need you to make up bad shit to make us all feel bad.
Yeah. So. Yeah. No, and that's a great analogy you just made, because that's exactly what it is. You know, and he's thinking he's going to come out of it the hero. Well, now he's right.
Oh yeah. That's exactly what he was going to do, because he's been raging and railing that he needed metal detectors in his school because he's got to do it for the children. And he's the asshole with fucking bringing shit, you know, I mean, according to his laws, he's bringing contraband and dangerous ordnance into his own school. Mm-hmm. I thoroughly enjoyed his mugshot. And his look in his face, it's like, welcome, you know, hey, asshole.
Well, and I'm sure he feels so put out. I mean, I'm sure he's going, oh my God, how can they even do this to me? Mm-hmm. I'm sure he doesn't realize it.
Hey, we're gonna have to get off here. We got to wrap this one up. I got to get to my next meeting. So, are you there? So yeah. This wraps up episode 134 of the John1911 Podcast. If you want to hear more about what we've been discussing or see links to the stories we're referencing, go to our website, John1911.com. That's JOHN1911.com. Remember, it's all about shooting guns and having fun. Everybody, have a good day.
See you later.